What is up, everyone? Very exciting episode today. We're talking about Arctic Monkeys, but I can't do it without the co-host of the show, Dixon. How the heck are you?
Ice, Dixon, we are back. Ice, we are back. We have a little brief hiatus. Actually, we didn't have a hiatus at all. We've just discovered that a key part of the podcasting process is that you have to upload the episodes you record.
I'm getting on the tech team about it. I'm getting on the tech team. Their minds are cleared. Everything's fine. Schedules are cleared. We have no issues. And, you know, when they saw our Arctic Monkeys video pop off, they said, you know what? We're back in this. We're uploading like crazy now.
Nobody has seen the amount of uploads we're going to have that we've just been sitting on for months.
Yes, no, you have no idea.
But we kind of kicked off this series last week, and we talked about the Arctic Monkeys, and in particular, Alex Turner and his kind of evolution as a frontman, and that kind of thing. So I don't think I told you this, but this is the logic I was thinking we were going to take. Sure. We'll look at their first album, which we're going to talk about today. Mm-hmm. And then maybe like a mid-career album, and then like some new stuff they have, because they had like this reggae kind of thing happening lately. So
okay, yeah, I really like that idea. I think you get the full span of what actually happened, because I think this band did evolve. Is that right? Correct to say? Yeah,
that is correct to say. Yeah, and so we're starting with whatever people say I am. That's what I'm not, and that kind of seems like it's really kind of sums up the Arctic Monkeys from what I can tell thus far. Mm-hmm. Came out in 2006, and they actually point to the Arctic Monkeys as being one of the first bands of their generation that got discovered via the internet. They were just kind of had a different way of marketing, and there was kind of TikTok before TikTok, I guess, and that's how they kind of created a name for themselves. So, not to be a spoiler, but I was listening to this album, and I'd listened to it before, and I'll tell you what, I forgot how good this album was. I don't know how you feel about it.
I excuse me, I totally agree, because I listened to this and I'm like, it was something, I don't know, I didn't expect it, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed almost every song on here.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. And it's funny because it's this is number 371 in Rolling Stone's The 500 Greatest Albums of All Time in 2012, number 19 in NME's The 500 Greatest Albums of All Time in 2013, and then 97 in Rolling Stone's Best Debut Albums of All Time list, which was in 2022. They said this was like an incredible debut. It was the fastest selling debut album in British history at that time. It really kind of put them on the map.
And you know what? I could see that too. I could tell now. I think it's just because we have the ability to listen to some of their later stuff, but you could tell that there is a evolution. And I don't want to say this album was bad at all in any way of like their production or anything, but you could feel like they're more tight, I guess, or professional. Like this sounds like an indie grungy kind of band that's really good.
Right.
Right. I don't know if I'm doing them justice with what I'm trying to say, but do you understand what I'm trying to say a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. No, it sounds like just like a demo that they released as an album. And that's, I think, what's so cool about it. And I think, it's kind of, they were talking about it and I didn't really realize it, but I realized it when I looked back after I read this, is that it's kind of a commentary on the youth culture, on, romance, trying to be young and navigate that whole world. And you're going to the bar and you're meeting people and that kind of thing. It has like this gritty edge to it that I think works really well. But I don't know about you, but I totally noticed a difference in Alex Turner's accent listening to this versus a couple of the songs we listened to last week.
100%. Because I remember you had brought it up when I watched that video that you said we talked about a last video, and there is a very, very noticeable difference listening to this first album. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you get like a Smiths vibe almost from this, like a punk? Like a punk grunge Smiths kind of thing. I
actually had two comparisons I wanted to make. I was going to say exactly what you said, Smiths, but kind of like you said, an edgier, grittier, grungier kind of their sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And another thing, so the very first song on the album, it's called "The View from the Afternoon."
Yes.
And that song immediately it reminded me of the Fratellis. You ever hear of them?
Oh, I heard of them, but I don't know if I know of any of their songs. I've heard that before.
It's kind of like that, but again, this is like a grittier version of them. And I'm not saying that Arctic Monkeys are like them at all, but this song, the way that they played it just kind of reminded me of them. They're kind of more of like they're actually from Scotland, but they're kind of like a happier more not poppy, just like more upbeat kind of rock stuff, at least from what I've heard from them. But they actually started around the same time as Arctic Monkeys.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, pretty interesting. But that's the comparison I make. But the Smiths, I think, is pretty spot on.
Yeah. That's I like I said, I've heard of the Fratellis before. That's interesting. What I was surprised to see is that Alex Turner wrote all these songs. All the lyrics are by Alex Turner.
I know. I love it.
We think we touched on that before because he seems like he's very prolific as far as his writing goes. And you'll be interested to hear, and I think we mentioned this last video as well, Beach Boys, one of his influences. And I could kind of see some of that in some of their guitar riffs that they use, kind of almost like that early 60s surf kind of thing happening.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. There's some kind of surfer-esque licks in here, so to speak. But yeah, definitely.
So, I think I was laughing out loud when I heard this because I didn't pay attention to it when I listened to it when it first came out in 2006. I remember listening to this album, and like I said, I forgot how good it was. But the song "Dancing Shoes," there's this line. It says, "Get on your dancing shoes, you sexy little swine." It's so funny.
I'm so glad that you brought up that line because I had another line in here. I'm going to try to find it, but
yeah,
isn't that kind of you could go way back in our video catalog and we talked about Nickelback and how it had some kind of not maybe a little misogynistic kind of sexualizing women and degrading them, but that line kind of reminded me. I'm like, it brought me right back to Nickelback. that one song that we listened to. I can't remember the white stains on your dress and things like that, but that's what reminded me of.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I could definitely see that 100%.
But that line kind of brings out like the grittier of this. And the song I was thinking about is "Still Take You Home," where it's pretty much just a song about how there's a girl, she's like a bimbo, she's got like the fake tan and everything. I think that's one of the lines, but he's saying all this stuff, but he's like, well, you're still hot, I'm still going to take you home kind of thing.
Yes. And it's funny because I guess the theme, like I said, the theme of that album is kind of like that gritty edge, that almost that commentary on nightlife kind of thing. It seems like kind of like an odd collection of songs for a debut album. I don't even know what that means when I said it, but it just seems like it's like a weird kind of collection. Wouldn't you agree? Like it seems like it's pretty like just in your face right out the gate.
Right. And that it's has like kind of a rebellious tone. Like you said, that grittier edge, kind of just saying like, I'm going to do what I want kind of thing. I guess that's like kind of the overall theme. But it is a different debut album. As you said, it is in your face. It's right in your face about everything that it says. And he's very pointed about it, I think.
I think so too. And I guess and I was listening to it and I'm like, wow, this is, like I said, I just don't know what else to say, but like, this is pretty good. But I'm thinking I was thinking back on myself, like in 2006, and I was thinking about because they have Arctic Monkeys have such a diehard following, and you could see that in the live videos that have been uploaded, how everybody just sings along with every word, and that's kind of it. And I can imagine if you were in England and you listened to whatever God knows what was ever on the radio, and then you heard this album, it was kind of like if you picked up your first Beatles album or your first Smiths album or whatever it is, and you pick this up and you're like, what the hell? This had to open your eyes for everything.
I know
this is reality.
It probably was life-changing for some people. It probably is just it probably got you hooked onto this. And that's probably why they have such a hardcore following, because like you said, it probably stuck with them. It probably put a impression on them when they first heard this. Cause I mean, like I said, I know I keep saying this over and over again, but it's gritty. It's got that edge. And I think it was probably different than a lot of stuff that was out at the time.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember it being completely different, and I'm glad we revisited it. And just a little background on the Arctic Monkeys. So it's been pretty much the same bands, with the exception of Andy Nicholson, who left the band in 2006. He was one of the co-founders. They've been around since 2002, which is wild. And it sounds like, they had this album and it got widespread critical acclaim, but then they kind of, I would say it seems like, from what I can tell, they got kind of more mainstream with their album AM, which we touched on last week, and 2013 that came out, and that was a couple of their songs were in commercials and stuff. And I think it became, I think one of those songs is now on the TikTok circuit. You know how things like come back on TikTok.
Yep.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
I just wonder. Okay, so going back to what we said, you're growing up. And you hear this in the UK, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! I love this." And it's got that bare bones kind of feel to it. And now they're making their newer stuff, and like you said, it's a little more mainstream. You're hearing this on commercials and things like that. Do you think that hurts the hardcore fans that were with these guys from the beginning?
That is a really good question, because everybody wants to be like, "Oh, I only know this band, and I'm the only one that knows it." I don't know why we do that.
I don't know either.
Great. Why would I want to share it with my friends? Why wouldn't I want my friends to hear it?
I don't know. I never understood that either. It's like you want to keep it to yourself. Like, but I thought this is the greatest thing ever. Why do you want to keep this?
This is completely aside, but I was thinking about this concept the other day, and I guess it kind of makes sense. But like, so the magic comedians Penn and Teller.
Oh yeah.
So whoever the bigger one is in that group, I don't know what his name is, but he's like a noted atheist, and he's been in documentaries and written a lot of things, but on not believing in God and things like that. And he makes the argument. He says, he said, if I believed in Jesus and I believed in God, and then I had only one way to salvation, I would be on every rooftop. I'd be making posters. I'd have it on my car. Like, I'd be telling everybody I possibly could. And he said, the ones that do it, they're looked at like they're crazy. And other people, other Christians don't even have any way of doing that. He goes, so why should I trust them if they're not trying to get me on their side?
Oh wow,
this is like the greatest thing of all time. Everybody should know about it. You should make it into a thing. That kind of reminds me of that.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, isn't that pretty funny?
By the way, Penn is the bigger guy.
Oh, okay, Penn. Okay, got
Penn
it.
Jillette. What a name.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is a nice name.
Yeah. But
yeah,
you're right.
Your question.
but you're right. Why aren't people praising this from the top of the roof? So I understand.
Yeah, and so there's got to be that component of the Arctic Monkeys, because the footage that I've seen of their shows from 2023 on. Now, granted, it was their first tour in a minute. The stadiums are packed, and they're playing intimate venues. They're playing these big festivals, and they have a crowd at each one. And I think that really says something to the fact that maybe they're not on every radio station, and maybe you don't hear them often, but they have this following that just follows what they do, keeps up with their albums, and they defend Alex Turner to no end. I mean, there's people that call Alex Turner out, and they're all over them.
I mean,
yeah.
But I feel like they are a very influential band at the same time.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's a household name. Okay, let me put it this way. I feel like if I went up to my mother or my dear father, and I said,
"Yes,
hey, you ever hear Arctic Monkeys?" I feel like they would have heard that. They would not be able to name a single song, but they'd say, "Oh yeah, I think I heard of them."
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
they're I feel like now in the modern day, they're underground, but not at the same time. I guess.
Yes, right, exactly. It's a weird kind of thing.
It is.
I feel like a band like Weezer was always like that. I compare them to Weezer. They're kind of around, and you hear them and you know them, but you don't know really what they sang if you didn't know them.
Right. Right. Another thing, I could ask my parents, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, Weezer." I'm like, "Oh, you know any song?" They had no idea, but it's just something you hear in pop culture.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's a good point, and that's kind of interesting, because I think that's pretty hard to do, to not be in everybody's face all the time. I mean, they ain't no Taylor Swift. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
and still have the following they do. I think that's like a hard balancing act, because I think that's a reality of you're staying true to what you want to do, but you're also creating maybe not mass appeal, but some sort of very close to mass appeal. It's got to be a delicate balancing act to do as an artist, and I think that's pretty impressive in reality. Like they talk about Seinfeld. how Seinfeld is like it's a show about nothing, but it's really difficult to write no progression at all. Like to just keep
Oh,
writing
yeah.
about the same thing. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Right.
And that's kind of I think the Arctic Monkeys is like they're doing their thing while still attracting new fans, which is kind of cool.
And I'm gonna be very interested to see where we go next because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you listen to this and then you listen to their latest album. I feel like it's different. There's something different.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're gonna kind of get a conglomeration of both of those different pathways, their
Yeah.
future and their past selves, like come together in one of the middle ones that we pick. And maybe there's a maybe a good one that could point that out, or like their transitional period. I don't know, but we'll have to look
Yeah.
into it. But I am interested because, like I said, this is bare bones stuff. I actually wrote a note down when I was listening to this.
Oh.
When this came out, and well, when it was recorded in 2005, that's around when I was getting into guitar myself.
Oh yes.
Because being a high school guy, you got to play guitar because you think all girls love it, but really you just pick it
Sure.
up and you suck ass at it, and no one wants to hear you play it. You picture yourself like going into like a party and being able to shred, and like that never happens. But anyway, I had an electric
Yeah,
guitar at the time, and it was some starter Ibanez, and
Oh, nice.
it didn't sound great. But when I listened to this album, I'm like, some of the tones they use, it literally sounds like my starter Ibanez on
No
my
kidding.
amp. Yeah, but not in a bad way. I'm not trying to do any disservice to this album because I absolutely love it. It's just
Yeah.
the fact that I even appreciate it more that it is
Right.
broken down and if you can listen to it again, just listen to the tone of the guitar in some of the first few songs, and it's just
I'll have to pick that up.
it's like it's not super distorted. It doesn't have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of gain, but it's just like I don't know how to describe it. It's like clean, but it's not. And
I got
and
you. Okay,
flat,
clean,
but
but
it's
no,
not.
that's
But
actually pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it just again it gives it that garage kind of feel to it, which is nice.
That is nice, and that's kind of cool. And like you said, and it sounds like what you're saying is because you're listening to the production that it's just whatever production they had at the time, probably without any sort of anything added to it. They just probably recorded it, and that was it. It sounds like.
Right. I hope we're right about that. I again, not trying to besmirch them and saying that this is recorded badly. Just saying.
No, and again, no, that's a really good point. And what a great thing to be able to do to now listen to music we've never really even heard. We've heard a handful of their songs, after this album, right?
Right.
I don't know why people aren't tuning into this show.
Really, I mean,
left and right, because this is just an incredible thing to be able to do, to look forward to something that you know already exists and you haven't heard it yet. That must be so cool.
I know. I
mean, it is cool. I mean, we're doing it.
Exactly, but I think it'd be interesting, at least from our perspective, for people who really like the Arctic Monkeys to listen to what we thought about it, listening to it for the first time.
Yeah,
knowing their newer stuff, because I don't think I've ever heard of any of these songs off this album.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But,
and that will be interesting, and it'll be interesting to see, because now when we record things like this, the bands that have this following like this, people come out of the woodwork and they comment, and most of them are pretty positive, I would say, right? People from Tool, they really welcomed us into their community. We haven't forgotten about you all. Please stick with us.
Yeah, please, for the love of God.
We're partial to the Smiths because they put us on the map. They put us on the road to 1,000 followers.
They did.
And of course, your favorite band, DMB, with the exception of DMB. DMB, they make such chill music, and the fans seem like they're such assholes.
They're the biggest. They're the biggest. Okay, I think this is kind of what you were referring to before, gatekeeping, as in like if you I just thought of the word for it, but it's like, well, if you don't like the right songs and you're not a fan, you can't listen to them anymore. That's kind of like it's kind of what we experienced with DMB.
That's so terrible.
I know, but that is so funny because it is like that. It's like people are hardcore gatekeeper fans of Dave Matthews Band, which is unfortunate because it's very chill music. You think they'd be chill, but I guess not. We learned that.
Do you feel like Dave Matthews is kind of like the same type of thing that he has? He's not necessarily on the radio, but I mean, he sells out everywhere he goes.
I
That's
think
kind
so.
of like a delicate balance too.
Yeah, I could see that. And I have my own thoughts about his evolution over time.
Mm-hmm.
Um
And they're not positive, right? It's not a positive thought, right?
it's not that I don't think he's still making good music. I hate to be that guy because I feel like this happens a lot with bands that have been out there for as long as they have, as long as Arctic Monkeys have.
Right.
The change just I just don't vibe with it as much as the earlier stuff.
Yeah,
And
I can see that.
I'm sure a lot of people that are fans of Arctic Monkeys could possibly relate, but I don't know. But again, you can't just keep making the same thing over and over and over. Like you can't make Crash like 80 times, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know who's tried? U2, and it seems like they're doing it. They will put out whatever garbage that sounds like whatever garbage they made last year, and they'll do it again.
Hey, you know what? Well, U2 fans are a special breed. We've learned that too.
Oh my god, how can anybody like U2? What is wrong with people?
I have no idea. I don't know how you could listen to that and be like, okay, yeah, this is something I want to listen to. I want to be a fan of this.
My gosh. Well,
that's
you know,
something else.
But you know, I'm sure people say that about the Arctic Monkeys too, because I think the Arctic Monkeys, if you took this album, and that's the thing with, I think with you're talking about as evolution is, I think if you took this album and this is the only Arctic Monkeys thing you ever heard, and you took it at face value, you'd be like, oh no, there's no way, it's too noisy, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. I could see how this could turn a lot of people off because it's kind of not what's the word? Every song is like typecast. It's all kind of the same kind of vibe.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's funny because Riot Van came on, and I thought that was going to be like the most aggressive song on there. And it's funny because after a while, like I was like, okay, we got to change this up a little bit. Right. And then Riot Van comes on. I'm like, okay, here's another like loud in your face song. Right. And it's the slowest song on the whole friggin' album. Just out of nowhere. So, but but no, you're right. Like most of the vibe of this entire album, most of the songs are it's the same vibe.
I gotcha. Yeah, no, it is, and obviously by design, like you said, that the concept of the album is the concept of the album is like a really relatively new thing, and I don't think a lot of artists really since probably like the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Bob Dylan have really done a good job of it. I mean, I think what comes to mind is like Lana Del Rey, Casey Musgraves, honestly Taylor Swift in reality, that they have a theme through the album that it kind of works together.
Yeah, I love that.
I know it's awesome. You don't hear that on Top 40, obviously, but this is, I think, like a prime example of that you have a theme and that everything kind of works together. That if you separate one song, okay, great, but no, I need to know the 13 other songs that are on this album for it to like make sense in the context.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I feel like a lot of albums that do that, especially on Top 40, because it's just like, okay, well, let's make one song's gonna be a single, a few others are gonna be repeat listens, and then the rest could just be whatever. And it's just you're just making whatever. Yeah, but you're right. I think there's something to be said for that, and I think they really nailed it with this one. There is absolutely a theme there, and it carries on throughout the album.
So it's been a minute since we've done this. Should we give it a rating?
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah, you know what? To wrap up, let's. Oh man, I'm kind of worried now.
Oh no.
Let's do it. Let's give it a rating. We're here.
Okay.
I feel like people are going to want to know this, so let's do it now.
They are.
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Sure. I think I can go first, and because now we explain this every time we rate an album, but I'm trying to be as objective as I can, and I don't think that anything is like inherently bad. Because if you're going to make something inherently bad, you're going to say, okay, based on this that I heard, or based on something else, right? So we take it for what it is. If I'm taking Arctic Monkeys for what it is, now I can see where the influence comes from. I can see how it works together. I know all that context that they have, so that's going to influence my decision, of course. If I'm taking the Arctic Monkeys at face value, this album is got to be like out of 10, if 10's the highest, like a 7 or an 8 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm glad you said that. I was scared. I had a number in my mind. I had a number in my mind. I was going to say 7.4. I was going to say 7.4. I think it's a strong album. I really like to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it a lot. And I like that broken down kind of bare bones garage punk.
Accessible for sure.
Yes, accessible. Yeah. But if there's anything I could critique it for, I would say,
here we go.
You know, unfortunately, even though we said that we like the idea of a theme throughout,
yes,
I feel like it's almost a little
right.
You could say the same thing but say it differently, if that makes sense. But I think it's kind of like the same, especially tonally. I feel like it's hitting the same beats over and over again.
Yeah.
If it's too much of a good thing, I guess I could say.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No. I could see how. Yeah, I could see how that could be annoying after a while.
And,
like I said, tonally for sure.
Right. And then if, again, just because we have the ability to look at their future stuff, and regardless of what you think of their new stuff, if you look at the production value, as much as I like the kind of broken down stuff, I feel like they're tighter on their newer albums. If that, it just, I feel like they're just tighter together. It just feels more.
Yeah.
I don't want to even say professional. Just on point.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. I get what you're saying for sure. That makes sense.
Right.
Like you said, it's kind of this.
Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to dance around it too much. Like I don't want to insult the Arctic Monkeys fans, because I'm sure there's a lot of them say this is the best thing that's ever been made, and like the production is godlike, and how dare you.
No, yeah, you're right. They might be coming for us, but we did get a few likes. We got some likes on our last video we did, so that was good. So maybe you gave a very fair and balanced review right now. 7.4 is ideal, and like you said, you like listening to it, you want to listen to it again. Can you ask for much more than that?
I know. Come on.
Come on, everybody, give us a break.
I know. trying to be objective here. I can't just say like, oh, I really like this album, 10 out of 10. I'll listen to it again. We can't just base it off that. We have to go with the impact of it. We got to go with we're really trying to get to the nails of this thing.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think if we go like 20 years from now, 40 years from now, I think people are going to look back on this album in particular. I do. And it's going to be like,
oh, for sure,
one of those seminal albums that people always bring up, that are in their lists.
Right. 100%.
What a great time to join the show and subscribe to the show, because we're discovering things that are already been discovered. How great is that?
I know.
And you can help us along in that journey.
So guys, please subscribe. Please continue with us on this journey to look through the Arctic Monkeys. We're going to have at least, I would say, 2 more episodes, right, Dixon? We're probably going to have a middle, and then we're going to look at some kind of midway album, and then maybe their latest album or one of their more mainstream ones. That's more recent. Definitely. So yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And I think, like I said, you've never had a better time to subscribe ever in your life. Right now, this is probably the best time to subscribe ever.
I would totally agree with you. The first time was the Bob Dylan breakdown. So go check that out. But
go check that out. Seriously.
The second time is right now. So
there's only been 2 times to subscribe in the history of the show. This is it. This is the second one you're finding out. And hey, we may record. You might not hear it, but we're going to record.
Tech team is dialed in and locked in. Believe you me.
Oh my God! Let me just say thank you, because the tech team. I don't know if anybody could tell. The tech team consists of ice only. You do a great job. You really broke it to him. You told him the secret that we had. This elaborate secret that we have this professional studio and professional equipment.
You imagine one guy who's listening to this and be like, "Wow, they really get on that tech team a lot. I wonder how those guys are doing."
Well, I'd quit that if I worked for the tech team.
Man, they're really on this tech team here.
You do a great job, though, and we appreciate it, because you have a life and you do good things. And so, on behalf of all of our subscribers and people that listen to our show, thank you for what you do.
Wow, absolutely. It's, you know what, it's not a job if you enjoy doing it. So,
well, there you go.
I know it gets a little backed up sometimes, but we're dialed in, we're locked in, and we're going into a new summer. So here we go.
Yep, the summer of ice in Dixon. So get ready. This is it.
That's right. Get locked in.
Locked in.
Well, guys, thanks for listening to us. Again, best time to subscribe right now.
Mm-hmm.
Stay with us. We have a huge catalog. We're going to be talking about the Arctic Monkeys coming up in at least our next 2 episodes. So if you enjoy that, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.